question. So we have realized that this radio station is entirely based off of rock music, and since there is a lot of people on campus, with different tastes of rock music, of course, and all kinds, we were wondering, like, either way, like, why rock music? Like,
That predates me by quite a long time.
Oh, okay. So,
So the station used to kind of just not really have a format, and then in the early '80s, it was decided that they needed to really make it sound like something.
Yeah.
So it was more of an adult contemporary sound for a long time, and then in the late '80s, they decided to just switch it to a rock format.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming because that's what was popular in the late '80s. College kids liked rock music, and it's just kind of been that way. The branding has been strong. Our slogan is pure rock, and it's been that way for a really long time. And I think it's just the idea of changing things after so long is just unappealing to everybody involved.
That makes sense.
We really like what we have and how we have it, and there's no reason to change it. Commercial radio stations, if it's a rock station and the ratings are bad and they're not selling a lot of ads, they'll flip it to something else that'll be more profitable. That's not something that we have to worry about.
Okay. So do you guys play other music once in a while, or does it depend on who's the DJ?
So we have what are called specialty shows.
Okay.
And if a student creates a specialty show that's, say, a hip-hop show, we've had those before. We've had specialty shows that are jazz music, blues, country, 80s pop. I mean, it's really up to the students to come up with an idea for a show. And as long as they have the music and it's edited if need be, and they're willing to put in the work, then we always invite them to come up with something. Over the years, we've had so many that lasted for 5, 10, 15 years, some that only lasted 1 year because the student graduated and there was no one to take over the show. So it's really just whatever the students, whatever their creativity comes up with, we encourage that. And the object of a specialty show is to be different than what we do. Mm-hmm. There may be a show that, you could classify it as rock, but it's not the same music that we're playing in our regular rotation.
So as long as the student here, the show can continue on in the radio station?
Yeah.
And then if other students tag on to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if someone creates a country show their sophomore year, they could have a co-host.
Okay.
Or maybe their senior year, they've been doing the show by themselves for a couple of years. Their senior year, they bring in a co-host who would then be the successor when they graduate.
Okay.
Or they could say, no, I don't want anyone taking over my show. It's going to end when I leave. It's really just, it's up to the students.
Okay.
So would these shows last for a day, or how would it work?
So shows are 2 hours long typically.
Okay.
It's a 2-hour show. Usually 8 to 10 p.m. during the week is the time slot.
Oh.
But there have been others in the past that are different times. And then, I mean, if a student has a specialty show, it's theirs for as long as they're keeping up with it, as long as it's still, they're doing what they need to, and as long as they want it.
Okay.
So now that we're on the semester system instead of trimesters, it's for the semester, and as long as they're I want to continue doing my specialty show, it goes into the next semester. If they're here during the summer, they can do their specialty show. If they live in Minnesota and they go home, it's just on hiatus until they come back.
Okay.
Okay.
So can any student in any as a first year or a senior can do it?
So first year we don't, only because they need to learn how to be on the air first.
Fair enough.
There are a lot of students who come in with some high school radio experience who they progress a little faster because they already have experience.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Those students may second semester have a show that they've been thinking about first semester. They kind of know just how radio works from previous experience before coming here, and they're ready to go day one of second semester with a new show.
Okay.
The idea is we don't just want to tell people no.
Right.
We want to tell people, okay, but, and as long as they can meet the demands, then go for it.
So work up to it kind of?
Exactly. You have to earn, there's a little bit of earning.
Yeah, okay.
You have to show us that you can be on the air and actually do an air shift before we're going to give you a specialty show.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Next question. Well, I don't know if you already answered this, but do you think more people would listen to the radio if it wasn't just rock?
Not necessarily.
No, you don't think?
So the way that radio formats work, you want to be defined. If you're just a station that plays everything, you're not going to appeal
Oh, well, okay.
to enough people. What's going to end up happening is, okay, yeah, you let's say you play a little bit of everything. If I'm a fan of rock music and you're playing Madonna, I might not want to listen. I'll tune out.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a fan of country music and you're playing Megadeth, I might tune out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know, okay, I can go to that radio station if I want to hear rock music,
Okay.
then I know exactly where to go.
Right.
I know exactly, as a DJ then, I know what my listening audience is based on what the demographic would be.
Okay.
So it's much easier to cater to an audience when you are a defined format. And it's easier as a listener, you know what you're going to get.
Right.
You're not going to have to be like, okay, well, is this next song going to be something completely wacky and I'm going to change the station and I may not come back to that station for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And okay. So you have mentioned before that you guys did win a lot of awards from competitions, and one of the question was, how does a radio station participate in a commercial and student broadcast competitions like the intercollegiate broadcasting system, the one you guys were
IBS. Yeah,
Okay.
IBS is coming up in March,
Okay.
the awards ceremony. So
Like how does that work? The process.
So because we've been competing in these for a while, they just send us emails.
Oh.
They'll send out an email like, "Oh, it's time to start submitting for next year's awards," and there's usually an instruction packet, descriptions of the categories,
Yeah.
certain rules.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to the students about it. They gather whether it's a piece that they've produced or if they have some on-air work that they want to use. They gather that stuff, and then we submit it via the website for each competition, depending on if it's IBA, CBI, IBS, depending on who it is. We go through their website to submit things.
So you said like the year, like for next year's?
So, because next year being like in March
Okay.
of 2020.
Got it.
Usually the window will be something like November 2018 through November 2019 that you can draw from for this year's awards, the
Okay.
2019-2020 awards. Because it's for 2019, but the competition is like the award ceremony
Is in
2020.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And then I guess this would be the last question, unless there's any other more popping up. Why does the radio station taking kids as early as freshman year rather than gathering them up by their junior, senior year like other colleges? And how do you find it beneficial for the student?
So think about this. You are an athlete, okay? And you come to the school and they say, you're not stepping on the court for 2 years. You're a basketball player. You're not going to step on the court for 2 years. How practiced are you going to be when you finally do?
Oh, so.
You're not going to have you're going to have 2 years where you're getting no experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The idea of having students on essentially day 2 of college
Yeah.
is so they can hurry up and start their experience.
Yeah.
For us, our philosophy is there's no reason to make you wait to learn. Learn now so that you can build your skills over 4 years. Instead of shortening that window to just 2 years,
Yeah, no.
have your 4 years. There are some programs they have juniors and seniors only because they have longer shifts maybe. Ours are 2 and 3 hours. Maybe they have 5 hours.
Okay.
They don't have enough people to fill all those. Maybe they have too many people and they feel that they don't want to start splitting things up. They want them to do things off the air first before doing things on the air. But for me, I would feel if it's not the real deal, if I'm pretending in a production studio that I'm on the air, it's not the same mental state as I'm talking into a live microphone that's going out to tens of thousands of people at any given moment.
Okay.
So the reality of being in an on-air studio is so different than being in a production studio
Yeah.
where nobody hears you.
Yeah.
Right.
The benefit, obviously, is you get more time to practice. You get more time to learn how to be good at this. And for some people, it's to decide if this is where they want to go for their career.
Yeah.
Do they want to go into radio? Do they want to go into some other media? Do they want to be a psychologist? I mean, they may completely change their mind after some time. So why make them wait? So I think that is one thing that sets us apart as well. Because we don't make you wait. We don't make you go through all these courses before you ever step inside the studio. Mm. And for a lot of people, that's really attractive. They want to start right away.
Yeah.
I've had some prospective students come by and, you know, they visit some other schools where the policy is you got to wait till you're junior or senior. And then we tell them, well, no, here you could be on the air your second day of class.
Yeah.
And they're surprised because that's not what they've been told at other places. Mm-hmm. And that helps them make the decision to come here ultimately.
Okay.
So you were like explaining like how you don't make them wait. So how do you like the atmosphere? Like how do you make it different from everywhere else? Like from their other classes? Like how do you make it like fun? Because I heard this class is a lot of fun.
Well, it's fun because you sit and listen to music and you talk. I mean, some of the people talk sports on the air. Some of them talk about music. Some of them just talk about cool things in the entertainment industry. It's really just a place to come and not have to do homework.
Yeah.
And not have to study for anything. We just ask that you give effort when you're on the air.
Okay.
So if you like music or sports or entertainment or you're a news junkie, there's always something interesting going on. There's always something to talk about. We live in a 24-hour news cycle. There's breaking news sometimes at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. You never know when something is going to break. Mm-hmm. So there's always something interesting to talk about.
Okay. And that actually brings up another question I think I skipped. The radio station is 24/7, like you said, which is always going. Does this mean even students are on air late at night, or how does the late night shift work?
So, for a long time, we were 24 hours a day, there was someone in the studio. This semester, we now just automate the 3 to 6 a.m. Our system just plays music, and there's no DJ in the studio from 3 to 6 a.m. But for a long time, before we had an automation system, we had CDs and mini discs, and there had to be somebody in there loading things in, pushing buttons, and doing all that stuff. I remember doing those overnight shifts as a student, and they're hard, but the incentive is what we call open playlist, where students, they only have to play the new music on the playlist, but everything else they can choose from anything in our system, which is like 11,000 songs. Okay. So if they get listener requests, they can play them all. If they feel like doing a set of music from Chicago artists, they could build that and do that. Or songs that were on movie soundtracks, they could build that and play that and have some fun that way. So we incentivize a little bit if you're here midnight to 3, which is now our only late shift. Because we're automating 3 to 6. As our numbers continue to increase, as they have this semester, if they increase next semester, we'll open that 3 to 6 back up to anybody who wants to take it. And the really good thing, again, about those early shifts is that most people are sleeping.
Yeah.
So if you're maybe a little nervous about all these people hearing you, it's a good training time.
Okay.
You know, the 12 to 3 and the 3 to 6, it's low pressure. And if you screw up, you screw up. You know, there's not a lot of people who are listening at those hours. It's not like, you know, morning and afternoon drive, which are the most listened to parts of the day. That's a little more nerve-wracking. There's a lot more going on. You have newscasts and traffic reports, sportscasts, so you have to know how to operate the equipment a little bit better and be a little bit quicker on your feet than a low-pressure 12 to 3 or 3 to 6.
Okay. So how does a mentoring partnership work? Like, do you like assign, or do people get to choose who they want their mentor to be? How does that work?
So when a new student comes in, if they do a DJ shift, they pick a DJ shift, they have their shift, and then we'll ask for a mentor. Okay. A student who's been here for a while, knows how things work, and can impart that knowledge to a new person. And that's really it's volunteer-based. And one of the things that we encourage is if someone, you know, you were new once, someone mentored you. Maybe they stayed up late for that 12 to 3 or got up early for a 3 to 6 so they could teach you how to do this. Mm-hmm. Now it's your turn to do that for somebody. Mm-hmm. So it's that cycle of continuing to do something for the benefit of someone else, even though it may be a little bit of a sacrifice to you. Yeah. Maybe somebody has a Saturday shift and you have to give up part of your weekend to go teach them and help them. So you get about 5 weeks with a mentor, so that you know what you're doing. You at least on a basic level know how to do a break, know how to use the equipment, and can have a little bit of fun while you're doing it. After that, that's when I come in with air checks, where I listen and I give feedback, maybe some tips for them to continue improving. If students want to meet with me to ask questions and go over air checks, we've done that before too. Most students just like getting an email, getting some notes, and working that way. Because then they don't have to try to fit a meeting in to their schedule. The only time a meeting is mandatory is if you're a new student, because you need to learn the process of air checking. What are we listening for? Why are we picking out specific things? Once we've done that, and they can show that they understand that exercise, then it's just up to them to want to improve and take what I'm telling them in their notes and put that into practice.
So you said that usually people come in with no experience?
For the most part, yeah.
Is that fun, like, to teach, like, new kids, like, who don't know, like, any of the technology, any how it works? Is it kind of fun?
It can be. It can be nerve-wracking for the students who are new. I came in with absolutely no experience. I didn't do high school radio. My high school didn't have a radio station.
Yeah.
I just loved music. I loved radio. I listened to the radio a lot when I was a kid. And I thought, well, that might be kind of cool.
Right.
I actually came to the radio station and I realized, wow, this is awesome.
Right.
I want to do this. So I was in love from day one.
Okay.
I was incredibly nervous the first time I did a shift, even though my mentor was in there telling me how everything worked. But it was just the idea of, what do I say? How do I know what to say? And then through the course of them mentoring me and saying, well, these are the things that you say. It's not rocket science. You're just talking about stuff. Make sure you give out the phone number so people can make requests. Make sure you're saying the song you played. Give out the website every once in a while because we stream online and things like that. So once you go through the practice a little bit, you go through the motions a little bit, it just becomes muscle memory. You just know, okay, at this break I need to do the weather. This break, I've got someone coming in to do a traffic report. So you just kind of get to know your routine.
Okay.
And most students, when they're new, will just take one DJ shift to find out if they're comfortable. There are some who, they're like, no, I want to do this. I'm going to take 2 or 3 DJ shifts so I can get lots of practice. That's fantastic too.
Yeah.
We're never gonna tell somebody you have to do this thing.
Right.
You have to do a DJ shift. You have to do a newscast because that might not interest them at all.
Right.
There are some people who come in who only do DJ stuff. There are people who come in and only do news and traffic. And if that's what they want to do, that's totally fine. We encourage them to try other things because the more well-rounded you are, if you decide to go into this professionally, the better chance you have of getting a job.
Right.
They want everybody to know how to do everything now. So if you are just a DJ or just a newscaster, it might be difficult to find work.
Okay. I think I have one more. Do you have any more?
No.
So you said you were an NCC student
Yes.
way back when. So what made you want to come back?
So when I was a senior, my predecessor, John Madormo, I came up to him and I said, I want to do this. I want to do what you do. And he said, well, I'm going to be here for a while. So go out, have your radio career, get your experience, and be ready whenever the opportunity arises, whether it's North Central or another school, or if it were a commercial radio station to be general manager. Be ready for when that opportunity arises. So in 2017, when he announced that he was retiring, I realized this is the time. I had been at a commercial station for 12 years. I was starting to want to move on to do something else. And for me, North Central was an obvious fit because I went here. I was majorly involved with the radio station. I had continued to listen to the radio station after I graduated. John had invited me back to guest speak a couple of times at the junior high and high school radio camps that we hosted. So there was already a connection for me. I love the campus. I love the building that we're in. So it was just a natural thing for me. I had done some coaching of talent prior, and that's really what this job is. So it was an easy transition for me to go from being an on-air talent who did a little bit of everything to getting off the air and then just kind of being the person to instruct.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to be more along the lines of where I wanted my career to go,
Right.
and stay.
Okay.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Absolutely.
Thank you for letting us record.
Yeah.